welcome you back to day one of our local candidate interviews on WFJA and WWGP Radio, brought to you by Sandhills Broadcasting and Brick Capital Video. We're here in the WFJA studio. I'm John Hockaday and your host for this North Carolina State Senate District 12 candidate interview. I remind our listeners that today through Thursday, each afternoon, these interviews will air live on WFJA and WWGP, as well as stream on the WFJA website. Videos of these interviews will post each evening, also on the website as well. Our third interview for the NC Senate District 12 is Republican Jim Burgin. Jim, welcome to WFJA and our candidate interviews.
John, thank you. It's a pleasure to be with you, and I want to thank you and your station and your sponsors for putting this on.
Well, we're glad to do it. It's the second time we've done it, and the response to the first one was wonderful. So, all right, you ready for this? Let's do it.
Yes, sir. Let's do it.
All right. If you would, please tell those that have tuned in today about yourself, your background, and why you're running for re-election.
Well, I'm Jim Burgin. I currently am your senator for District 12, which is Harnett, Lee, and Johnston County right now. The new district, it'll be Harnett, Lee, and part of Sampson County, one precinct in Sampson County. But I grew up in Knoxville, Tennessee, went to the University of Tennessee, and was recruited right out of college to go to work for a billion-dollar company. Did that for 8 years. I met my wife in Greensboro in one of my moves, and we've been married for, tomorrow it'll be 42 years.
So 42 you better not forget that one.
No, I know it. I'm just making sure of what day it is, because I've been in Asheville this last week for 3 days, and then rushed back and to do a lot of things, and I'm having to be gone tomorrow and go to Washington on Wednesday. So been trying to get out and do a number of things. But anyway, I worked for that big company for 8 years. Always knew I was going to be in business for myself. When we started having children and I was traveling a lot, we decided to move to Ann's hometown, Angier, went into business, bought an insurance agency, started getting into real estate and other things, and then became partners in John Heister Automotive. So I'm a business guy. And along the way, after our kids all got out of high school, I was asked and decided to run for county commissioner. I did that for 8 years. Enjoyed that, enjoyed the public service and doing things that I think made a difference. And then was asked to run for North Carolina Senate. So this is my 4th year in the Senate. Thoroughly love it. Think I've got a lot done as a freshman, got a lot of legislation passed. This current time, got a lot of legislation passed. I've been ranked as the most business-friendly senator out of all 50. Got the endorsement of the family values. I've got the endorsement of the NRA. Got the endorsement of all of my sheriffs. Got the endorsement of folks like Ted Budd, Richard Hudson, Lieutenant Governor Mark Robinson, and it's important to me. And all during the time, I've tried to be a statesman and somebody that your listeners can be proud of representing them.
Well, as you said, you've been there 4 years. What do you see the next 4 years as the most important issues coming up in the Senate?
We have got some exciting things happening in North Carolina. North Carolina has been recognized as one of the most business-friendly states in the country. Our tax policy is wonderful. We're going to talk about it in a minute, but one of the things that our big concern is right now is finding employees. All the companies that I insure are looking for people. I just hired a new person after months of looking for someone for an administrative role. So we need good workers. We need folks that want to make a difference in companies, but companies are desperate for great help right now.
Well, the workforce in North Carolina has been affected, obviously, by COVID-19 and some other issues, but a lot of companies still struggling to fill position, particularly the service industry with restaurants. What can the legislature do to help, and does the state bear some responsibility with this?
I think we do. I think we were so quick, and the federal government does too. There was so much money thrown into the economy. Think about this. The current amount of money in the economy has increased 25%. So when you add that much money, you're going to get things like inflation. You're going to have economic issues. And part of it was they made so much money available to people to not work that folks, I've had people that said, hey, I've saved up some of the money I got from the government, and I'm enjoying doing some things that I want to do, and I'll go back to work later.
Well, that has been the case with a lot. They've found other ways
Yes,
to
sir.
make things work. North Carolina is still recovering from COVID-19. What aspects of our economy right now are presenting the biggest challenge to you in the Senate?
Again, workforce, supply chain. I was talking to an electrical contractor last week, and he told me that he cannot get. He does new houses. He said I can't get meter boxes, electrical boxes, conduit for these new homes. Talked to an HVAC guy also last week, and he said he's waiting for flexible ductwork. A lot of it comes from overseas. He said he had been tracking a large shipment, and it was still sitting. Last week, it was sitting off the coast of California waiting to be received. So supply chain, trucking, there's a huge need for folks with CDL driver's license right now. So folks, if you want a good job and you can get a job immediately, go to one of the community colleges, become a CDL driver, and we'll put you to work.
Of course, the recovery that we had from COVID. How would you rate the job that? And I realize you're one of them up there, but how would you rate the job that the politicians did with this and helping North Carolina to recover? And are we ready for the next time something like this happens?
You know, hindsight's always 20/20, and I'm not going to sit here and criticize the governor or anybody else. There's a lot of things we learned. We should have never closed the schools. That was one of the big things, and I think that caused a lot of grief. And I hope we get a chance to talk about mental health and some of the healthcare things that I'm working on now, because I have spent a lot of time visiting and working with the Secretary of DHHS on what we're going to do and how we're going to do it different. But I think that has been a big problem, just the keeping kids at home. We put in the budget that if this happens again after 2023, the governor will not be able, whoever is governor in the future, will not be able to just do one of these state of emergencies. It'll take a majority of the Council of State. The 10 top elected officials will have, the majority of those are going to have to agree. And think about it. If you have the top 10 elected officials in your state facing a problem, I believe those folks are going to do what's best for this state. That didn't happen in the first time. As soon as the majority didn't agree, and it was over closing restaurants statewide.
Yep.
But when the majority didn't agree with the governor, he made the decision to go a different route. And I've talked to him and his folks about it, and told them that I actually was one of the sponsors of the bill. We ended up putting it in the budget. But I think that there needs to be a lot more collaboration and working on things. Now, coming out of it, I think a lot of the tax policies that we did because of COVID is going to allow North Carolina will be one of the fastest ones to recover from COVID. It already is. And Dale Falwell just put out a report talking about how North Carolina is ranked number 2 in the nation right now as far as economic stability and vibrance. So going forward, I'm more concerned, like I said, about the inflation and people being able to find good employees.
You mentioned earlier the political maps. Obviously, that was a interesting topic throughout the fall and through the winter. Talk to us a little bit about how these maps ended up and how did they specifically affect us here?
Well, it really didn't affect the Senate that much, and the House it did. It pulled John back out of Harnett County and changed some things for John Sauls and the House district. For me, the only thing that changed was I was representing 3 precincts in Johnston County. Now I'm representing 1 precinct in Sampson County, the Plainview precinct. So nothing really changes in my Senate district. And I've even told folks that I've represented, because I made friends with a lot of people in Johnston County and in Benson and everywhere. I said, folks, if I can help you, I'm here to help. So just call me and I'll do everything I can help. In the future, I think that we're going to see new congressional maps in a year. I think the congressional maps that we're all have going on all over, I think those are going to be revisited. I think the House and Senate maps are going to stay like they are for the next number of years. I hate it that we had some really good folks in the Senate that were double bunked that are not going to, which means one of them can't come back. So I was talking to one of them today, Deanna Ballard, her and Ralph Heiss, who are both dear friends and great legislators, but one of them won't be coming back. And I think that's what makes a difference, that you have some people through no fault of their own won't be able to serve.
Well, I know redistricting is a never-ending argument as whoever loses one wants to redo the next time. How long will it be before this is looked at again? And do you feel it's better done by legislatures or an independent, nonpartisan commission?
I think it's going to have to be continue to be done by legislators, and here's why. Uh, I haven't met anybody that's not partisan about something. I'm going to ask you, do you like Coke or Pepsi better? I'm not going to say which one I like because we've got the Carolina deal versus the non-Carolina
That's
deal.
right.
But everybody's got a preference. It's been done that way. That's the way it was set up to be done. The party that's not in power always complains about it. But I think as far as the way it was done, the transparency on the Senate side, there were some questions about how the House did some maps, but there was no question about what was done on the Senate side. It was all done in full view. There were cameras running all the time. The rooms were open. I was in and out of the rooms. A lot of people were in and out of the rooms. Anyone could go in there and work on a map, and it was all transparent. I think that if you did give it to an independent group, it's still dependent on how folks are appointed or how people are chosen. Partisanship is going to creep into it. So unless you had some completely automatic, autonomous system to do it that nobody could touch, but I don't see that happening. Somebody programs every computer and every robot. So if we had somebody doing it, there's still going to be bias built into it.
Jim, over the I guess since 2020, the state actually was part of offering an incentive package to the USGA to come to North Carolina, and of course locally, Sanford and Lee County has been very successful in the last year or two with their open for business policy and recruiting and bringing in industry. What do you see as the role of the legislature to lure business to North Carolina?
In a perfect world, nobody would do incentives, but we know that that's not the case. And I'll tell you about some of the successes. And I represent right now Lee County and Johnston County. Both of those have been just magnets for pharmaceutical, gene therapy, high-end manufacturing, billions of dollars. This VinFast announcement for the Vietnamese auto company that's coming. Did you know, John, back when I was a county commissioner in 2015, we were working on that mega site with the folks involved. We actually invested, when I was chairman, $120,000 in helping to promote that site. We went after Honda. We knew we would eventually get an OE, they call them OEM, original equipment manufacturer. We knew we would get one. Did you know we were the only southern state not to have a new car manufacturing operation?
I did not know.
Now with VinFast announcement, we have solved that little problem. But the government's going to have to be involved. The infrastructure is so massive in one of those undertakings, putting in the roads, putting in the water and sewer, that a company almost can't do it anymore. They talk about 3 to 5 billion. The real number is going to be probably $8 billion investment. And with the ancillary businesses coming, we're talking about maybe 35,000 people. Now, we already have a situation here in Lee County where we don't have enough people to fill all these jobs. But Central Carolina Community College is right in the middle of this. They're going to be doing a lot of the training. You're just going to see a big change in the total amount of money that people are going to take home is going to jump significantly. When most of these rural counties, the average pay is in the high 20s, low 30s, and then people are going to come in and be paying $45,000 to $55,000 for jobs, you're going to see a big change.
I want to move to a different topic, I guess more nationally, but somewhat locally. Law enforcement, first responders have really, taken a hit in public confidence. We've had calls for defunding in some parts of the country. Do you see it as a responsibility of the legislature to help rebuild this respect of our policing, or should it be local legislation?
It should be all of the above. We need to do everything we can to support the two folks that are the folks that I really think we owe special honor to are our military and our law enforcement emergency services. I've tried to get in the budget $1,000 bonus for all of the I call them gun carrying officers, because they're out there, walking up to cars at night, on a traffic violation, going to crimes, going to domestic situations. Most officers, that's where they get injured at, is in a domestic situation. But I think we do owe them special honor. I am for funding the police. I've been endorsed by the police benevolence group, and like I said, I've been endorsed by all of my sheriffs, and because they know I support them and that I try to get them money to do good. If they have bad officers, I expect them to deal with it. Just like if you had a bad employee, I would expect you to deal with that person. But I don't think that you just wholesale say defund or that they're bad. I've met very few bad law officers, and the ones that I know are good. But there are some out there, and we need to get those out of the situation and get them out of our community. We don't need those folks affecting people.
In your district, there's a lot of different types of employment. Farming is still a big thing here in this area. Let's talk a little bit about the farmers that you represent and the challenges. I know that just with gas prices, filling up tractors, fertilizer, all these things, prices just go through the roof. What are the challenges that farmers are facing right now?
You've already named it. I talked to a big farmer in Harnett County. I actually lease him a farm that we own. And the fuel prices, he's paying over double what he was paying last year for diesel. And those big John Deeres and Fords and all of those take a lot of diesel. Fertilizer has more than doubled. They can't grow their crops without fertilizer. Labor is just getting labor is a big deal. Plus, you know what their biggest competitor is right now? Developers. Developers are buying up land. Yeah, one farmer told me the other day that he was offered over $90,000 an acre for farmland to grow one more crop, and the last crop would be houses. So that's if you look at it, that's the biggest competitor to farming right now. And there was a report that I read yesterday morning that said that in the next few years we could have a food crisis in the U.S. because of how many people are getting out of farming and how many people. I had a farmer tell me one time that farmers were the biggest gamblers in the world because they go out, they invest all this money, and they don't know if it's going to rain or if it's going to flood or if it's going to be a drought. And they gamble every year, and they gamble it all. And we need to be praying for our farmers. And folks, buy local. Buy as much local as you can to support our farmers, and stay away from a lot of the highly processed stuff. It's not good for you.
I learned this, I guess, when I was in the golf business, but making fertilizer, they use gasoline to make the fertilizer, and that's why that price goes up so much. So it's, I know it's got to be a tremendous challenge for them.
It is.
Would love to ask you this. You do represent voters in your district, and, being, I guess, around politics or watching it for the last 60 years, some politicians correspond with their constituents more than others.
Yes.
What kind of things do you do to stay in touch with your constituents, and how do you make sure that their voices are heard?
Well, a lot of people communicate with my office in Raleigh, and that's fine. But if you've got a piece of paper, I want you to write this down. This is my cell phone number, 919-207-7263. I put it on my business cards. I put it on all my legislative cards. It's on my website. And I tell folks, call me. Now, some days we get 500 emails, especially if there's something going on. And it's easy to miss an email because if somebody sends you an email about a particular topic, right now we're getting a lot of things about hemp. The regulations on hemp change in June, and so a lot of people, and I've got hundreds and hundreds and hundreds. So if you have a question or a burning situation that you want to talk to me about, call me. I'll say it one more time, 919-207-7263. And if I don't answer the phone, if you get can I call you later? That means I'm on the phone. If it goes to voicemail and it's full, just text me and I will follow up with you.
Well, thank you, Jim. I want to thank you for coming in and spending some time with us today during the interview. And on behalf of the station, we certainly want to wish you the best in the upcoming election.
John, thank you. And it's a real honor to be with you. And I want to just thank all of your viewers for listening. I hope it wasn't boring.
On behalf of Sandhills Broadcasting and Brick Capital Video, we do thank Jim Burgin for talking with us today. We're going to take a short break, and when we return, we'll talk with Republican candidate for State Senate, Ernie Watson. So stay with us. We'll be back right after this word from the Lee County Elections Board.